Hello everybody, once more, hello from Barcelona. This is our final Periscope interview from Hall 2 at the Fira de Barcelona in Barcelona and this year's Smart City Expo World Congress. Before we start, thank you for being interested in so numerously topics 2016. And before we start, I promise you this. Today's topic is not only trend-setting, but exciting as well. We're talking about social transformation and democratization. Our expert is Head Urban Development within Siemens Global City Competence Center. It is Mr. Martin Powell. Martin.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Very well.
Good to see
Very
you.
Good.
So Martin, shortly, before we were talking about the so-called new data. Mm-hmm. What is the new data and what is it teaching us about technology choices in cities?
Yeah, great. So the fact that we have a lot more data than we used to have is teaching us that we have to really test our assumptions. So I'll give you an example. In London, if you banned all cycling, you'd actually improve air quality by around 8%. Now, I'm not suggesting we ban cycling, but it's making us realize that sometimes when we make choices in cities that they're not having the consequences that we think about. I'll give you another great example. In New York, if you made every train driverless, you'd make and create an additional 40,000 jobs. So actually you create more jobs than you take away. So these kind of historic ideas about automation, machine replacing people, is actually not true because driverless trains also increase revenues, increase capacity, more passengers and so on. So we have more benefit, more positive externalities than just removing labour. So it's helping us think about how automation can be a good thing for the future. And the third fact I'll give you is that if we replace all of the fossil fuel technology in the big cities in the world with like for like a modern equivalent of fossil fuel technology, we'd save more CO2 than we would by replacing it with renewable energy. Now, in a longer period, obviously renewables is favourable, but in the short term, we really need to think hard about putting in the best solution for the moment of time that we're in. And I think this is what data is really opening the minds of people in cities and businesses to really think about, to make good choices.
Let me go back to the official title of this talk. It is, I quote, Social Transformation and Democratization of Data. Right. To be honest, this sounds a little bit prosaic or dry for my taste. Does this have something to do with people's lives? Or let me try to put it the other way around. Does this mean how involved should citizens be in the decision-making processes?
I mean, it's a great question. I think we have to be very careful of how we engage with citizens in cities. And mobile technology has enabled people to tweet their complaints when they get delayed. So I think what we need to do firstly is ensure that we filter this information that comes in. But also the city has to use it to commission good outcomes for the city as well. Somebody said to me that we should allow citizens to participate in the planning process, and my response was that you must be out of your mind, if you let people do that, because nothing would get done. So I think the key is about taking in information, aggregating it properly, and then making the right decisions that impact the best solution for citizens in the city.
One thing I heard a lot on this year's exhibition, that private and public sector in cities are not always the same page. Just an observation, I heard various reasons, but this leads me to the next question. What will be the impact of increased monitoring in cities and how will this involve the private sector?
Yeah, I think the public-private partnerships of the future are going to become, the really emerging way of doing business in cities. What increased sensing and monitoring has done for many cities in the world is help us build better information about what's going on in local neighborhoods. So a great example might be that a city commissions to pay €5,000 per child that is exposed to a low limit of poor air during their day at school. And then let the private sector go away and figure out how they solve this problem. Do they put in low emission zones or congestion charging? Do they move the schools away from the most polluted areas? So it's really going to be about commissioning the private sector to do it. And what more monitoring means is you can measure more effectively and allow those business models to work.
Martin, you've been working on the challenges of big cities for many years. From today's point of view and including all your knowledge and experience, what will the next big cities have to do differently?
So the big cities in the world have probably the biggest challenge because they have to overcome the inherent inefficiencies that they've had in the past. So retrofitting these big cities is the big challenge. So policymakers in cities are going to start implementing congestion charging and low emission zones and other forms of sort of taxation as time goes on. And I think this is going to become increasingly important. The big cities also have to rethink their energy and transport infrastructure, think about how to make it much more reliable, much more resilient. And again, Siemens is right at the center of this discussion to really think about how you deliver power to the people that need it. So the retrofit challenge for the big cities, in my view, is the key. But I'm really pleased at the kind of work that we do and how we really focus on making cities a better place to live.
Martin Powell, everybody, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us, for joining us today. And folks, that's it for 2016. This was our last live Periscope for this year's conference in Barcelona. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, YouTube or Siemens.com and share your thoughts via social media channels. Bye bye from Barcelona for today and thanks for watching.